recognizes Alderman Sigcho Lopez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Last year, Donald Trump made headlines when he told us that he did more for the Black community than any president since Abraham Lincoln. A couple of weeks ago, we in the Latino caucus heard something unhauntingly similar when Mayor Lightfoot told us she's done more for the Black community than Harold Washington. Instead of one up in the past, Mayor, please show us that you put the lives and livelihoods of our Black and brown communities ahead of your downtown donors. But this budget does not do that. Just like last year, this budget relies on property tax increases, regressive taxes, and fines. If this budget passes, let me predict what the post-budget PR campaign will look like. You will hear we're making quote unquote unheard of commitments for $188 million for environmental justice. But what that really means is that we settle for flushing funds without a fully functional Department of the Environment, without adequate long-term planning, and without clarity on whether the industry will influence a possible environmental justice agenda. You will hear that we're putting forward a transformative housing budget. But what that really means is that we settle for $5 million of the $70 million commitment that we need for single room occupancy and transitional housing. And what all that means is that in the middle of a pandemic and in extreme weather, we allow the mayor to continue to turn her back on 80,000 unhoused people and people who have unstable housing to go from shelter to shelter. Just last night, I received a call about a family with a 13-month-old baby that just took up residence in a campsite in our ward. And we will be on our own to seek to help them, with the city again tying its hands and purpose. Those of us trying to help our most vulnerable residents will be without city support again. You also hear the mayor worked with progressive city council members on housing, homelessness, and mental health. But what that really means is that we settle for a pittance of an extra $10 million in funding out of the $100 million that was requested, 10% of what's needed, despite there being almost $2 billion allocated for the city from the American Rescue Funding. Even in times of abundance, the dogma of capitalism demands suffering and austerity for the working class to benefit the billionaire donors of the mayor. You will hear that we're being smart about paying off debt, but what that really means is that we settle for prioritizing interest to Wall Street banks over the people of our city who need these programs and relief now. You will hear the mayor says her door is always open to people with solutions. But what that really means is that we settle for backroom compromises that shut out conversations about real solutions. We should not pass a budget that requires public relations gymnastics to justify why city council isn't fully investing in our communities that need it the most. We shouldn't need PR gymnastics to explain why we settle. We should pass a budget that offers more prevention than reaction. We should pass a budget that equitably taxes the rich and large corporations so that we have a sustainable and a stable city. We should pass a budget that puts full impactful funding behind investment and relief. Social workers, nurses in our schools, after-school programs, trade programs, rehab programs, and workforce development and programs that truly hire from our communities. And in the face of an unprecedented gun violence in our city, we should pass a budget that moves another $80 million from ShotSpotter and CPD vacancies right now to strategic investments for violence prevention and social services for our most vulnerable communities, because our children and our families are dying. I will not settle for less than what is possible for the residents of Chicago. I vote no, and I do so knowing this mayor had the resources to meet the urgent needs of our ward residents. I held public town hall meetings across my ward, and I vote no because the residents know, and I know that Chicagoans deserve a budget written without the mayor watering their demands down to crumbs when we have $1.9 billion in federal emergency funds that could help Chicago recover. But there's another reason why I vote no, Mayor, and it's because the city cannot trust you to lead transparently and responsibly. Even the Transparency Committee in this budget, just like in 2019, doesn't have any teeth. The fact that still we haven't released the Inspector General reports about Anjanette Young and about the city-approved Hilco demolition is proof that you are not trustworthy. If our city can't trust your integrity, how can we trust that you will responsibly and fairly spend billions of tax dollars? I vote no on this black check. Thank you.
Thank you so much.